It is your boy, the Mulatto Ronin, back on at it again with another banger and fire video for y'all's out there today. They're y'all. Welcome on back to the channel. But guys, I gotta go in on this particular topic, but I gotta talk about American mulattoes versus mulattoes from outside the US, all around the world, because I want to see better unity between us and better understanding, but there is differences between us, and I don't really hear anybody really speaking out on this. But yeah, there is tension between certain mulattoes out there, and but I really think it just based, especially here in America, about when it comes down to how blackness is defined. Because I like, even when you talk with family members and just your average American, only in America, where if you have some type of Afro type features, but you're super light skinned, even with other mixed features in you, people can clearly see that you're mixed. Oh, nah, yeah, you're just black. Totally disregarding everything about you. So that's the first issue that we have, because unfortunately in America, yeah, like the way we look at blackness is so, yeah, it's very outlandish. That's the first thing. And then unfortunately in America, we have a lot of broken homes. So when it comes down to close families and like really building and working together, America in general is not the best place for that, especially for people like us. Compared to other mulattoes from around the world, I feel like they do got a better sense of community. And also another thing too, when it comes down to like other mulattoes, when they get to America and they choose to build and stay here, the biggest problem that they run into is a lot of people just assuming, oh yeah, they're black, but they come from a whole different culture. So if you're, let's say, as you're a mulatto from South Africa, you be considered a colored over there. Somebody. Now I know they're, and also, like, you gotta keep in mind the types of Europeans, like, they're very different in terms of how they move. Like in terms of like just their culture and everything. So you got to keep that in mind too. But and also it changes too after colonization in certain parts of the world. But like if you get a mulatto from South Africa and they come over here and they get called black, they're gonna be like, what the heck? Like, no, like, I'm colored from where I'm from. And they're automatically just gonna be absorbed and told, oh no, you're black. I'm like, and they're like, no, like, I'm colored, I'm from X, Y, and Z. Like, my mother's from this tribe and everything. So you come over here, you're gonna be like, what the hell? And then you look around and you see a lot of other people that look like you, other mulattoes, whether they be MGM, multi-generational mix like myself, or first generation mulattoes. You see them and they tend to be black identified, So you're sitting back like, what the heck is going on over here? Why did they look at just why did they absorb the mixed people, the mixed Afro people, and make them black, totally disregarding their culture and everything, like they're a blend. But now a fun fact for you, as I always said on this channel, but the mulatto class, yes, that used to be a thing in America before it was a race. The one drop rule really fucked shit over. I mean, really just destroyed shit over here in America. I mean, just did a number on everything. So you have that aspect. And when it comes down to how that affected a lot of stuff, well, when you look at mainstream media, you tend to see light skin, dark skin. It's very rare you see dark skin, light skin, light skin. You don't really see that as much in the mainstream media. And even in real life, when you look around, that's very rare. And listen, nothing against, like, hey, if you like light skin and you're a dark skinned person, like, or vice versa, or whatever your preference is, I have no issue with that. But I ain't gonna lie, it is a lot of self-hatred when it comes down to people, who are darker, and even at times with people that are lighter skin as well. There's a lot of self-hatred there, because a lot of people, will make you feel, very insecure, for just how you look, keep in mind, both of light skin and dark skin, you're not the majority of this country. And that's not to point fingers and blame, but it's just like, I mean, yeah, this is the white country, so you expect to see the, on TV and everything, white majority on TV, 100%, it would like, you're the majority. Why are you going to cater to a minority? And then you got a minority within a minority. But at the same time, it is very, very important. If you're going to have a multi cultural society, proper identity is very, very important. And seeing how the one drop rule destroyed that, yeah, we saw the big mess that made 100%. So, but yeah, it's a lot of dynamics that you have to be aware about if you're a mulatto from outside of America and you get to America and you see, how confused a lot of mulattoes tend to be here in America, and just Afro mixed people in general. It's a lot of them, like, because you'll be sent back, you be like, dang man, like that is so crazy. It's like why are they proving their blackness? And like where you're from, like, yeah, you're clearly classified as mixed or like mestizo or mulatto or or colored, depending on where you're at. So yeah, that can be pretty confusing for you if you're a mulatto from outside the US and you move to the US. So yeah, it is those cultural differences that really kind of separate us. And then another thing too that I noticed, there is tension with certain mulattoes, more specifically with the Latin community, just Latin America. But now, one thing I got to make clear when it comes down to Latinos basically, it's almost, it's similar to America, like they still, it's practically almost the same, but it's just, they're culturally different. But I will say it's weird because like American whites tend to be like more lenient and more open-minded compared to a lot of Latinos at times. Excuse the plane flying over. But it's very, very interesting because like with a lot of Latinos, you have to understand it's built up like this. It's European, because a lot of people don't know this, but yeah, Latinos, like white, they're European. Yeah, so they're the Spaniards. So you got the Spaniards, it's just culturally they're different, Then you got the indigenous and you got the African, and then you got the mixture. So you got the mulattoes. So it's similar, but it's just culturally different. And same thing. It's like, yeah, when they get over here and they tend to be a bit more family oriented and working together, that's how they're able to come over here and able to build their businesses and, really take off, because they're very family oriented. In America, a lot of people, it's kind of every man for themselves type of mentality. And that's a turnoff, if you come around a lot of different, the average American. So the disdain for a lot of American mulattoes, especially for one, a lot of them are lost. And if you try to tell them that, hey, you're mulatto, be like, oh no, I'm black. Like, no. Like, I'm proud of my blackness. Like, listen, yeah, we're all proud of our blackness, but at the same time, we're not full black, like we're mixed, like we're in the middle. If you're walking around like this, look at me, guys. If you're walking around like this, look at how white I am. Like I'm very, very pale. Yes, I can be kind of a little dark at times, but in general, I'm pretty damn pale, So you can clearly see the mix right there. But if you're walking around like that, you're not going to fully fit in with black people. Even your traits, everything shows that, yeah, like you'll empathize with black people at times, and you're still going to look out for them. You'll still stand up for any injustices, but yeah, you're different. You're not black, you're in the middle. But America has erased that, from the American mulatto. This is why there is so much confusion. So if you're let's say if you're a mestizo from the Dominican Republic, now I ain't gonna lie, like back in Florida, I will say the Latinos are pretty cool over there. Like I will say, But the only thing that sucks is just like if you don't know Spanish, you're kind of cooked with Latin and just like literally just the Latino community. You know, you're pretty cooked if you don't know Spanish. Me personally, I'm not trying to learn a whole nother language, but unless I don't know. I mean, like I know a little bit, but at the same time, I really don't want to learn Spanish. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I don't plan on moving to Latin America anytime soon, but it's not a bad idea if you want to really connect with a lot of like other mulattoes from different groups, like the Latin America and like everything, you know, like the Latino community. That's a smart idea, you know, get more connected with them. But culturally, you're just not gonna fully relate. But I do think there is a good stepping stone for unity, 100%. But another aspect you're gonna have to look into when it comes down to the tension between a American mulatto versus a Hispanic mulatto, you know, so yeah, like from Latin America or, you know, the islands, Caribbean, you know, Dominican Republic and all that. The issue like you may have in terms of like pushback and tension is mostly it's so complex because with Latin culture, it really just depends on where you are and where you go. There are some places you can pull up to and Latinos are going to be fantastic to be around. Other places you go to, horrible to be around. I mean, yeah, you're going to get treated horribly. So it's really a hit or miss when it comes down to them. But it's very important to know at how a lot of Latinos tend to look at blackness, because when you look at Latin America, like, I ain't gonna lie, man, like you thought in terms of like the things that black Americans go through over here is bad. Nah, Latin America, like, yeah, they go through it worse over there. The Afro Latinos, like the black and even the mulattoes at times, yeah, they go through it a lot worse over there compared to over here. But I will say it's probably better to be a mulatto in Latin America compared to America. You know, at least you know who you are. You know, at least they got you on the census. Versus over here in America, you were taken off the census, you know. So yeah, like at least you got that aspect. But and then on top of that, you know, when they come over here, they already got the community already together. But over here in America, it's so much confusion, and basically they don't really want nobody like a middle safe space because it would create more competition. Like America is not a place of community nor unity. You know, this is very divided. There is no United States, united nothing over here really. So yeah, like the most united people, they're all the foreigners that's coming in. They're the immigrants. You know, y'all are the united ones. It's not the Americans. So yeah, it's sad that it's like that, but yeah, you know, I mean, we are getting into the progress of rebuilding, but I did have to really make this statement because yeah, like it just must be said, you know, that way, if you are a mulatto from, you know, the DR or, you know, Brazil, Colombia, and you come over here to America and everything, like you need to learn how, like basically the history, you need to learn the dynamics. You need to learn how blackness is looked at over here in America. But at the same time, it's like, it's so weird because like, you know, you come from honestly a more stronger community. In America, there is no community like that. This is a first world country, but the community is garbage over here for like Afro melanated people. But it is starting to change. Thank God for YouTube, you know, because I don't like this. I think this is the biggest reason why there is a disdain for American mulattoes, because it's just like, it's kind of a every man for themselves mentality. And I think that's the biggest issue a lot of people tend to have with us compared to a lot of mulattoes from around the world and other different places. But yeah, you know, like we've been through a lot over here. You know, keep in mind, we got taken off the census. We had our class removed. So y'all got to keep y'all classes worldwide, you know. A lot of us are just waking up. Some people will never wake up over here in America, but at least y'all got your own group. Y'all got the community. We're starting to build that. We're unfortunately in America, we're not trained to really have strong family values, because we're just told to work hard and just get money, like forget morality, forget everything else, money, money, money. That's all that matters over here, There is no strong family units and shit like that. Like that just, I hate to say it, but this is the worst place for it, And if you are going to raise a family here, yeah, I'd rather be an immigrant trying to do that shit. At least you got community and y'all can work together. Y'all can maneuver. So that's how they really moving and making shit shake. But us Americans, us American mulattoes, we got to move the same way. And in terms of like relationships and dating, and like me personally, because like I know culturally, it's going to be very different for me to date a mulatta that's of like the Latin descent compared to like, let's say if I get a mulatto from like the UK, that would be much better. For one, I don't have to learn Spanish a lot of times, which don't get me wrong, you can still find a mulatto that, she speaks English and Spanish, but ideally, I ain't gonna lie, I feel like I'll do the best with one from like England, London, or the UK, or maybe get me one from South Africa. I feel like I'll do the best with one probably like that, in my opinion, but at the same time, I'm very open-minded. But this is a statement that really, this is a topic that just really needs to be discussed. But I'm very curious to hear what you guys got to say on this topic. But yeah, I just had to talk about this. This is something I really need to get off my chest because I don't like seeing the tension between the American mulatto and the mulatto from other parts of the world here in America, like I said before, a lot of us tend to be very confused, and our history was erased here in America, and the system just absorbed us all into blackness when really, we're not fully black, and other places around the world literally recognizes us, but in America, they don't recognize us at all. Seeing that there is a lot more race mixing going on than ever here in America, so we need our own lane. Even black people has been saying it for a long time. We need our own lane. But at the same time, you do got other black people out there who will look at all black as black. And I think this is another disdain a lot of Afro Latinos tend to have when it comes down to a lot of black Americans and, even mulatto Americans as well. But they'll look at them like basically like, they'll look at us and they'll get upset when they be like, oh man, they black just like us. And they be like, no, we're this, we're like, our culture is like this is how we move. We not the same as y'all, so I understand that like 100%. And that is something that needs to really be talked about because the way race is defined around the world is not the same like here in America. But let me know what you guys think. It is your boy, the Mulatto Ronin. Like and subscribe, share. Y'all take it easy.